time and I was needing to message people because I had everything up on my screen.
We just don't have an audience there right now, you know.
But they'll go back and watch.
Yeah,
Okay, here we are. Whoops, lost it. Okay, I see you. I think you're live.
Oh, are we live now?
Yeah, but it's muted for right now until you're ready.
We're ready whenever you get it straight.
I don't know what happened.
I had them like, you need to turn them like towards me. Yeah, just get them to stand up straight. If you get them like this to touch, they can prop each other up. Because see, they're aiming up at the ceiling, not down at the. There you go.
Okay. And can you see yourself okay, Jennifer?
Yeah, I can't see Naomi really good. Looks like that's okay.
Yeah, that delay is.
Sound like me, Naomi.
They're still playing.
I'm better. The
Maybe,
Facebook one is pointing up.
down.
Yeah, they need to point.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you
Yeah,
go.
like
Point
that.
them all down.
Yep.
I was gonna say, Sonia told me, she goes, what happened? At first I was like, that's me. She's like, that is not you. I didn't like that even. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. There you
There you go.
Always been jealous of people that are good in public. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Facebook one.
Yeah,
That's
this-
actually looking
That one looks
Okay.
good. The Facebook one is perfect.
I think we're showing like this though.
Yeah.
It takes a minute to. There we go.
There it is.
There we got it. We got it now.
Oh, sorry. It's just I have to unmute it.
Yeah, we could have just left it muted.
Okay, you're good now.
Are we good?
Yep.
All right. Thanks everybody for being patient with us. We're obviously not technical gurus here. We're trying to get our feed done the best we can. So I'm sitting here with Naomi, and she's a new employee, and she just recently moved here from Virginia, and has started working for us. And one of her loves is rabbits, so we're going to talk about rabbits here in a second. I was going to show you a couple of the things that we have in the auction that I thought was kind of cool. And of course, I like antique stuff. I like items with history that are maybe homemade, or that someone has made an effort, to put love and craftsmanship into. But this caught my eye. It actually is new with the tags. This mirror is Sirocco, and it still has the history of the mirror. It was stamped 1943. I don't know if that's when it's made, or if it's it says on the back made in the USA 1943, so I think that's the date that this mirror came from. It's in pristine condition, still has the original tags. I priced these out on the internet just because I thought it was a neat item, and it's a French style mirror. These run anywhere from $100 to $200 on eBay and Etsy, so I don't think ours is really up that high. I think it's about probably like $20. So anyway, I think this is a cool item, and like I said, it still has the tag on it. And I see a lot of artists buying these and then refinishing them because it has a lot of details, so you can paint them, and they turn out really, really nice. There's a couple little parrot things in the auction too. That's just a little parrot keychain. This thing I think is really super cool. I just, if you grew up sort of on the Xena warrior princess kind of thing, this is right up that alley. Looks like she would wear that while she's like fighting somebody. But yeah, we tried to kind of figure out what this metal was made out of. We can't really tell. It does have a finish on it, a patina here, but from what we can tell, we just don't know. So anyway, it's a really interesting piece of jewelry. Would make a good conversation piece, or for a costume if you go to the Renaissance Festival or something. And I was just thought it was interesting, so I pulled that out. I noticed that as soon as I saw it, because I thought, oh, somebody's somebody with, you know, that likes to have statement jewelry could wear that. These I picked out because they remind me of my mom. She has these in her backyard. They're really cool because they're solar. They still have the film on. I think they're brand new. Once you put the light in here, the light actually comes out and it displays this pattern all over your sidewalk outside. And so my mom has these on her sidewalk, and I didn't realize how cool they were until I visited her, and I've been there many times, but it's cold sometimes. This is the first time we really got to enjoy being outside, and these just really added a lot of beauty to the backyard. And so these are also new with tags, and this one right here is normally $37 by itself. This one doesn't still have the price tag on it, but they're also not really selling for a lot. So check these out in the auction. They're really cool. And then this is another solar powered light. I don't know if you can see it, but when it lights up, there's a reindeer here. I think it would be fine in the winter year round outside, but it's basically was still new at the tags. It's $32.95.
The solar.
I think it's only going for a couple of dollars on the auction right now, but some of this stuff, it's hard for us to get photos of how beautiful it actually is. And if this had been charged up a little, I could show you how cool it is. But this is another thing that we have, still new with the tags.
Lots of fall and Christmas items.
Yeah, this just hangs up outside or inside. We have a lot of outdoor decor, and even though it's not Christmas time, we have some really cool. This is something I also want to pull out because when I saw it, I don't know, it gave me like this Ruth Bader Ginsburg vibe.
Yeah.
We had one in the auction, one of those collars like she wore, and that kind of stuff, I just really like it. And this is definitely a vintage piece. You can tell by the way it is, but it's just really cool. And I thought, oh, this is something I just think has some history somewhere. And the beadwork is just hard to get the photos of how pretty this is.
It's just exquisite.
It is really nice.
It's a statement piece.
Very.
Yeah. I mean, that would be beautiful with a formal dress or something. And then this one I pulled out. Of course, everything I pull out, I have some kind of story for. This is a tiger eye, and so it reminds me of being a kid. My Aunt Lorinda was in the military, and well, so was my grandpa, and they traveled the world, and they'd send me things from different areas around the world. And one of my favorite things I got as a child was this tiger's eye necklace from my Aunt Lorinda that she sent me, I think from Hawaii. But, you know, this piece just kind of brought back some memories. There's a matching bracelet and necklace. And again, some of this is really hard to see in some of the photos. And it has little earrings too. So that just reminded me of when I was little. I was so fascinated with the tiger eye and all the different ways the stone would, you know, reflect light. And so I pulled this out. I don't think we have a lot of bids on this set, but it's absolutely beautiful. And we have this ring, which I thought was really pretty. I don't know if you can really see it, but I think we tested this and it was crystal. We actually did get a diamond tester just for the auction so that we could test. It tells us if it's glass, if it's crystal, or if it's diamond. And so it was sort of like Christmas when it would light up with the diamonds. We would all be like, yay, it's a diamond. There's a guy on TikTok who goes around and he goes to events and he asks people to test their diamonds to see if they're real or not. And people will think their diamonds are real and they're not. So we always we want to test them to make sure that you know what you're getting. But anyway, this ring I thought was really pretty, and just kind of reminded me of the video that's really popular. And so I'm gonna scooch out of the way and let Naomi talk to you about rabbits. And we have one of our rabbits here who's available for adoption, the little Dutch rabbit. They're one of my favorites too. That was my kid's first rabbit. When we lived in California. My kids had a Dutch rabbit. We named it Bun Bun, like every other rabbit in the planet that's named Bun Bun. So I got a call about this rabbit, and even though we were full, I said, well, I can't turn down a Bun Bun, because they just remind me of my kids and how much they love their rabbit. So anyway, I'm going to scooch out of the way and let Naomi talk to you about the Bun Bun here.
You ready? Ready to close up? All right.
Maybe you can just open it.
Yeah.
Here, let's do this. Maybe just,
I'll put her this way.
and if you scooch towards the middle a little bit, maybe just open it and see if she. Here we go. So let's start out with Naomi telling you what she does around the rescue. What do you do here? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what jobs you're doing around the rescue.
So, like Jennifer said, I'm Naomi. I moved here from West Virginia in November. I've been in animal welfare for 18 years, mostly with dogs and cats. So I was really excited to start working here as adoption coordinator, remote data entry, and coordinating produce donations. So it's nice to learn about life away from dogs and cats. It's really interesting. And then today I'm going to be talking about domestic rabbits, and specifically one that we have for adoption. This one right here will come out. She's a little scared right now. She's a little Dutch girl we have. She's already spayed, ready for a home. She's very friendly. She's just super, super scared right now. A little bit nervous, which is understandable. You okay? You want to come out? There you go. Good girl. Yeah. You good? Okay. Good girl. So with domestic rabbits, their diet is really, really important. So they have to have hay 24/7, access to hay 24/7, Timothy hay and orchard grass and other assorted varieties. Vegetables are also important. Leafy greens like romaine, and then cilantro is really popular, escarole, spinach. We like to do carrots and fruit sparingly because the sugar content is just so high. Pellets are important as well. You want to do a small amount daily. You want to stay away from the Fiesta varieties, like really colorful brands, and just stick with basic brown pellets. You want to have at least minimum 18% fiber content for the pellets as well. That's very important. Housing, so indoors only for rabbits. When you put them outside in the hutch, they are prey animals and they will get kicked off very quickly. So indoor housing, you want to stay away from hutches even inside. Stay away from cages. X-pens are wonderful. And then you want to line the X-pen with a fleece blanket of some kind or something soft, because unlike dogs and cats, rabbits don't have pads on their feet, so they can get sore hocks if they are resting on a hard surface. What else? Let's see. Inside the X-pens, you want to have some sort of enrichment so they keep occupied. Twig bundles, big boxes, balls they can push around, baby teething toys they can throw around, stuff like that is very important. You want to have a bowl of water available 24/7. They're notorious for not drinking water, so bowls make them drink water more frequently. Obviously, if you adopt a rabbit who's used to a bottle, keep a bottle in there, but also add a bowl so they can drink more water. Let's see.
So talk about what kind of produce you can give them, and because rabbits are more sensitive, I think, than people realize to changing diets, and we see that a lot when they get surrendered.
Yes.
So will you talk a little bit about how would you transit? How much produce can they have? What things should they not eat? And what would you suggest for transitioning rabbits from one diet to another?
So whenever you adopt a rabbit, you're going to want to find out what they've been eating. And a lot of the times, or when you get a rabbit surrendered to a location, a lot of the times they're not eating the appropriate thing. Obviously, you don't want to transition them like bing, bang, boom, go to one diet to the other. Slowly transition. Vegetable-wise, it's based on weight. You want to do about 1 cup packed chopped up vegetables per 4 pounds, I think it is. And you want to pick out 3 vegetables to chop up. A lot of leafy greens are good. And you want to rotate it so you don't get bored too. There are several vegetables that are good, but you have to keep it at a minimum because the oxalates in them can give them a bladder sludge. Okay, there's my girl.
We're just gonna show you the rabbit. She doesn't really want to come out. I don't know if
She's nervous.
she's just a little nervous. We don't want to make them do
A
anything
little
that
bit to the right. All right. That's
Right.
good.
if they're not comfortable, we're not gonna force them to do anything.
So yeah, with the diet, Timothy hay is also very important. Majority of their diet should be Timothy hay because it helps move everything through their gut, through their intestines, so they don't get blockages.
So do you have any suggestions for holding a rabbit?
Yes. So rabbits, you don't ever want to scruff them like you would a kitten or a puppy because you can detach the skin from the muscle at the back of their neck. You don't want to pick them up by their ears like a magician shows you to do because that will just injure them. What you want to do is you want to scoop them up from the bottom and support their bottom and hold them towards you because their back legs are very powerful and they can kick off and they can injure themselves and potentially break their own backs in the process. So it's very important the way you hold them.
So how much time a day would you need to invest if you were considering adopting a rabbit to take care of them and also give them enrichment and the time they need?
Out of cage time is 4 to 5 hours out of the X pen because you want, like, X pen's wonderful for containment, but you want to get them out of the X pen at least 4 to 5 hours a day to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you can litter box train rabbits as well. And when you litter box train them, you can actually make them like free roam if you want to, but then you have to worry about rabbit proofing your house because rabbits have an insatiable desire to eat power cords and other things that will injure them.
So, I may be wrong, but I had rabbits and they just lived freely in my house. And we sort of found that they decided where they wanted to go to the bathroom and that's where we put the litter box. So is that just true for all rabbits? Or can you train them to go to a different location?
They like corners a lot, so when you start litter training them, using the litter box, you kind of see where they're using the bathroom and you put the litter box there, and if they start changing, you just kind of move it and figure out where the best is. And then they'll pee in the litter box most often, like that's where they want to go. But pooping a lot of times, you'll still find wonderful golden nuggets all over your house.
Don't think wherever.
So, also rabbits have 2 different kind of poops, and they have to re-eat one, and the other one is like the finished poop. So, tell us about that. Why do they do that?
So the cecotrophs, that is the one that they eat, and you rarely see them doing this because they don't just poop and then walk over and eat it. You see them, it looks like they're grooming themselves, like down, and it looks like they're grooming themselves. So they're eating their cecotrophs, and it's because there's still nutrition inside the cecotrophs that they have to get. So, and it looks like a bunch of grapes if you ever see it. It looks like a little bunch of grapes sitting around. And if you ever find it, and that they're not eating their cecotrophs and they're just sitting around and they're not eating them, it's time for a vet visit because it's usually something's wrong if they're not eating that. So.
Yeah, I know that's really important for baby rabbits when we're raising. I mean, it's been a long time since I rehabilitated wild rabbits, but I started out originally in ARC and I rehabbed rabbits and squirrels and different things while I worked on getting my license. The way it's set up now, it's kind of weird. You have to kind of get a mammal license and then you can apply for a bird license. But you can get a bird license through the state, but then they require you have the federal, which means you can't get the experience of being licensed. You know, it's a little backwards. It's changed since then, but I actually realized at some point I really loved birds, and I saw that there was nobody helping them. So I said, well, I think I'm not gonna fight people over squirrels, because back then we used to fight over who got the squirrels. You know, you had to have seniority in order to get squirrels, And after a while, I thought, why? I just want to help animals. I didn't care what animals I wanted to help, so I started doing the birds and just kind of fell in love with them. But you know, when you stop using information after 20 years or so, you don't always retain everything. But that was something I remembered with the rabbits and having to make sure their digestive system is moving. So what recommendation would you have for someone that wants to have a rabbit as pet? What is the you know, are they expensive to have? What kind of vet care do they get?
So you have to, number one, when you're considering a rabbit to adopt, you want to make sure you find a very rabbit savvy veterinarian. Not all veterinarians take care of rabbits, and even some that take care of rabbits they haven't taken care of them for a long time, and there's been a gap in their care. So find a really rabbit savvy veterinarian. You also need to take into consideration how much it costs to get their setup, because it's kind of expensive to get everything they need. Rabbit care in general, it's expensive. The food, the care, it's expensive. But it's worth it because they're really cool.
Yeah, they're really great pets. I actually have a rabbit allergy, so after the rabbit was, you know, died of old age, we didn't get any more rabbits. So I can do okay with them as long as I'm not handling them a lot. So, so we talked about the veterinarian and the diet, and then I don't think most people realize how much it costs to have rabbits fixed and how important it is to actually get them spayed or neutered for health reasons.
Yes.
So
some of the health stuff with rabbits. Number one problem with rabbits is GI stasis. Like, number one, that is a problem to treat. If you adopt a rabbit, you need to get ready to deal with GI stasis. So GI stasis is basically when the gut or the intestines stop moving, ceases to move. It's a very dangerous situation. As soon as that happens, they have to see a veterinarian. Some of the signs of that are not eating, not drinking, and they do this thing that's called belly pressing, and they will press their belly against the floor to try and get some comfort, because it's very painful, because just gas bubbles build up and it's very painful. So when you have a rabbit, you want to make sure you keep herbivore critical care on hand, and you want to make sure you keep baby gas drops on hand, because they're very safe to give to a rabbit to try and relieve the gas pressure.
that just happened to one of the rabbits we're treating here, the one that came in with all the ear mites that was dumped, that had been out for months. And he has a lot of other health issues going on, and we noticed immediately there was a change in the behavior, and one of our expert rabbit rehabbers took that rabbit home to get the stomach moving again. And I think after she got it moving again, he had a lot of diarrhea, so we wanted him to be under 24-hour watch, and he's bouncing back. But yeah, we just dealt with that too, so thankfully someone noticed it immediately and brought it to our attention, and it's really important. And that's where our medical team does treat things, but it's the other staff is our eyes and ears all the time for what's going on with the animals, and they may see the same animals out in the yard every day, and they know when it's a change in behavior. And it's not, and for some animals limping is normal, but for others it's not, and that's where our staff is so important to see the change in behavior.
They do a great job at it too. They
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
What's your, oh sorry, I was just gonna ask, what's your favorite animal that you've helped get adopted so far?
Grandma turtle.
Everybody loves grandma
Like, I
turtle.
was so excited about that adoption.
Yeah, I think I posted the video that she sent a video of that, and that story is going to come out on the Dodo pretty soon. So we're looking forward to that, and she'll be a little famous by then. But it's just crazy, that turtle, because I was reviewing the story for the article, and I knew all these things, but remembering that she was also wrapped up in fishing line, and she was actually wrapped up in fishing line, and so you're trying to piece together how does it happen, because that was a pet. She was obviously super friendly, used to eating out of your hand, because we get a lot of turtles. Most of them don't really want to interact with us, but she was just right there, and she's missing legs, and I think maybe someone dumped her in a pond, and then she got caught in some fishing line and got out, and then, but how she ended up in the trash, we just can't figure it out. There's just it's just sort of baffling. But she's literally, I think, the sweetest turtle we've ever had.
She's a very lucky turtle. Very lucky.
Yeah.
I liked her a lot.
Yeah, and she's got a great home now.
She looked like an actual grandma.
Yeah,
She did.
I mean, she wasn't that old, I don't think, but she just looked and acted like a little granny, you know?
I liked her a lot,
So.
though. She looked like she was smiling, too.
Yeah, she did. She always had that happy little hopeful face.
I liked her a lot.
Yeah, she was really cute.
And who are some of, like, what's an animal that we have a lot of that the public could adopt? Like, do we have a lot of roosters or
We have a lot of
ducks?
we have like ducks. Male ducks. We need male duck adoptions so badly right now. So male ducks. Send your applications in for male ducks.
Okay.
And people don't realize they can have an all-male flock. I don't know, we actually had this discussion today because every time we get new employees, when breeding season comes, ducks are just brutal.
Yeah.
And everybody says, "Oh, we've got too many ducks here. We got this going on," and ducks are just brutal with mating. And you can have a pond with 2 ducks, and that male will still overmate a female to death at times. And they kill a lot of the females, and so that creates a shortage of females, and then they fight over them. And so we will separate the males from the females to save the females. Well, then they just start mating each other, and we end up, the only way to really avoid the ducks doing that is to literally separate every single duck here. And like I was telling them, you could have 3 or 4 ducks at a pond in the wild, and they're still going to do the exact same thing. It doesn't matter how many you have. They just, I mean, there is some unconsensual mating in other animals, but I have never found one that is as brutal as the ducks
I
are.
had to learn about that when I had no idea. I
Yeah.
had not a clue. My eyes got opened. So
Yeah,
I
it's
had
crazy.
I had no idea.
It's crazy. I mean, they come in and you're like, "Oh, this cute baby duck," and like you already know they're just gonna grow up and be like this sexual predator or something. Like you're a boy.
It's like, please don't do
I
this.
try not to look at them that way because they're ducks. They're just animals, and
Yeah.
they're not. They don't have the ability to right or wrong. They're fully driven by instinct,
Exactly.
and that's just how they are. It's kind of sad, but anyway. Did you have other questions?
No, that was, unless you want to share anything else, but thank you for sharing about rabbit facts.
Do you have anything else on your list?
I've got a couple things.
Yep, keep
Just I'll go
going.
over them real quick. Some other just problems that you deal with if you adopt a rabbit. You have to worry about their teeth. So they're constantly growing all the time. So you need to make sure they have Timothy hay all the time because that helps grind down their teeth. And chew toys like rabbit appropriate with bundles they can chew. That keeps their teeth good. And then a yearly wellness check with a rabbit savvy veterinarian just to check their eyes, ears, teeth, make sure everything's good to go. And then spaying and neutering is so important for obvious reasons with rabbits. But for females, when you spay them, or if you don't spay them, all kinds of cancers can happen. With males, if you don't neuter them, they mark their territory and they fight. So spaying and neutering is of the utmost importance with rabbits. They can overheat very quickly, so you need to keep an eye on them in the summertime especially. Talked about how to pick them up. Why you should never dump a rabbit. So domestic rabbits, they're not like the cute little rabbits you see in the front yard playing and eating dandelions. They have no idea how to live in the wild. They're domestic. They don't know where to find food, so they could starve. They can pick up any manner of parasites. They can get poisoned. They can get attacked by predators because they are a prey animal. And they can get hit by vehicles. So if you ever come in this position that you can't keep your rabbit, a domestic rabbit, surrender it to a rescue or a shelter where it can get adopted into a home. Don't just dump it because it's a death sentence for a rabbit, a domestic rabbit. But yeah, rabbits, they're fragile and they require a lot of specialized care, but they really are great pets. Like, they're a lot of fun and they're social and they're sweet. And I love them so much. And this sweet girl, she deserves a home so badly. And like I said, she's already stayed and she is ready for a home. So just send in your applications for her so we can get her out of here. Because I love her. But
Yeah, she's adorable.
Rabbit.org is a wonderful resource for everything rabbit, house rabbit. A lot of good information on there. Anything you could ever want to know about house rabbits is on rabbit.org. But yeah, that's all I have for you today.
Is there any questions? Do you think? Let's just make sure no one has any questions. I think it takes people a little bit to come on when we first come back on
We
too.
got a lot of God bless you for everything you do. Learning so many new things today.
Hi, baby. There you go.
All right.
Jeremiah said hello, Naomi.
Oh, here she comes. Bunny bun.
Okay. You starting to chill out some?
She's like, all these people I don't know.
See, I was nervous too, okay? We could be nervous
She
together.
is. She put her head out.
There you go. Tell them that you want a home. Tell them. Yeah.
She's beautiful. It's a beautiful
She
rabbit.
really is.
She's just she photographs so well too. Like I was like, this is a supermodel rabbit. She's all like,
Good girl. Good girl.
and the pictures are gorgeous. Yeah, she's really a cool
Good
rabbit.
girl, baby. You did good.
Okay, Danielle had a question. Can they live with cats, and how would you go about introducing them?
So they can live with cats. I have 4 cats in my house, and I have a rabbit as well. My rabbit is a senior, and they've lived together all her life that I've had her. So with cats, you want to just do slow and steady introductions. You want to put a rabbit in a bedroom and let the cat smell her at the door, and just swap blankets sometimes, so that each animal can smell the different animal. And when you start letting them around each other, supervised, always supervised. That's key. But yes, they absolutely can live together.
Anybody else?
Cool.
I don't think she wanted her greens. All right, thank you, Naomi.
Thank you. You ready to go back? Okay. Here, we'll take this with us. Here you go. Good girl. All right. This way.
It's better to go that way. Over here. Oh, okay. Yeah, exit stage. Right.
I don't know if I'm gonna make this. Probably not, to be honest.
All right, guys, give us just a minute for transitioning, and we're gonna. Next up is Rachel, and Rachel is a shift leader. She's fairly new here. I think she's. How long's it been? A couple of weeks.
Yeah, maybe like 3 weeks.
So we've kind of thrown her into this. She's pretty new, so
Jumping in.
she's jumping in, but she has a lot of really good experience. Tell us a little bit about your background and what kind of experience you have, because you have some really neat experience, and then you can go into your talk.
Sure, absolutely. So I went to college at Montreat College. It's near Asheville, and I studied environmental science and outdoor education, and I got a lot of hands-on experience with amphibians and reptiles. This is my main area of expertise and knowledge. I got to handle a lot of our snakes and salamanders and chameleons and everything that we had at the lab there. I got to take care of it, so that's where most of my knowledge comes from. That is my main.
And you just came back from a trip. Where did you go?
Yes, I went to Paraguay. It's in South America. It's right next to Argentina. Lots of meat there, which is good. And got to see a lot of snakes. We got some different hognose snakes. We got a tricolored hognose, which is really cool. Looks like a coral snake, if you've ever seen one of those, but it's non-venomous, so it's okay. A bunch of, they actually have wild chinchillas there, which is cool. Wild guinea pigs, so we saw those, and they're just running around across the road. You just see them, and it's
That's crazy.
kind of cool. They're not in cages there, which is pretty cool. But
But they're native. They're actually
Yeah,
native.
they're
in
native there.
wildlife
So
area.
yeah, don't let your guinea pigs go or
Yeah,
chinchillas.
yeah.
Not here. Not
the
here.
same as what we
Not
do here.
the same. Yeah, not the same. They're supposed to be wild there. Not here.
Well, and I think the big difference that people don't understand too is you can take a guinea pig out of the wild and make it domesticated, but when you change the location to another country or continent, it's like I talked earlier about snakes and the ball pythons because people let them go, and in this climate they can't survive because they're from a tropical climate, and you're probably in more of a rainforest type climate too down there that's warm.
It's basically like the Florida of South America.
Mhm.
So really, really hot. Some places pretty humid, and some places it's more desert-y. But it's mainly just a bunch of cattle land, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest deforested areas, but also has a lot more like nature still around because they are saving it for their
Yeah.
cattle.
And I think that's why people will say, "Oh, I see these guinea pigs in the wild," and they don't realize that that's in a totally different continent or a totally different climate, and that's why some of the animals, say you like the ball python, go in Florida, he's probably going to do okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them do too well, and then you have these giant now
Yeah, the Burmese.
Burmese pythons eating people's cats and dogs, and basically every other wildlife is getting decimated by these snakes that people let go. So that's kind of the big difference with the rabbits and all these other things that I think people don't really know enough about them before they release them. So good start here.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, just like, we'll get to the bearded dragons in a little bit. This is a bearded dragon. Just have like a strange growth or something. But this is our friend here. And just like we were talking about with the pets releasing them into the wild, bearded dragons actually come from Australia, and they're native there. They can live there, but not here. And there are pets here. So put that disclaimer in before I say anything else. But I'm actually going to talk about two different things. I want to talk about amphibians and reptiles because I love them both. And so for my amphibian, I'm going to talk about salamanders. While we don't take care of many salamanders here because not many people bring them in, and that's okay. Please don't bring in salamanders. They're actually really awesome. So amphibians live part of their life in the wild, in the water, and then part of their life on land. So that's what an amphibian is. And they kind of look like lizards, but aren't lizards because lizards are reptiles. I know it's kind of confusing, but you should Google one right now. If you've never seen a salamander, you should totally go see one. But they come in all shapes and sizes. They can be like this tiny, or they can be like this big. There are some called the hellbender, and they are like the biggest salamander that we have here in North America. There's actually the Chinese hellbender, which is the biggest salamander in the world. It's like massive. I don't even really know, but it's like a really big salamander. Salamanders are really cool because they, in their larval state, so when they are little babies, they have external gills, kind of like an axolotl, if you know what those look like. They have external gills that help them breathe. And then when they become an adult, they drop their gills and can move on land. Some of them decide to keep their external gills and live in the water for the rest of their lives, like axolotls, but then some can drop their gills and move on land. And when they move on land, they start eating things like bugs. They can eat other different salamanders as well if they're big enough. And they hunt at night, which is really cool. So if you go and try and find them, there'll be some that are in the creek. If you go during the day, you can flip rocks for them. But make sure if you flip a rock, you put it back because that's their home and they want to live there. And if you move their rock, they're not going to know where to go anymore. But if you go at night, you'll see them crawling around on the trail if you're near a trail. Looking for bugs, looking for insects, whatever they can get their hands on, they're going to try and eat. And salamanders are actually really important. Although they're really small, they're really important species because they're called an indicator species. And indicator species, scientists will look at them and they will be able to determine the health of the environment around them. So certain ones will be indicators for certain things, but salamanders are really sensitive. They have really sensitive skin. And so they're really good indicators of pollution that you can find in streams. And they actually breathe through their skin, and some don't even have lungs. So they're extremely sensitive to any pollution. So if you find an abundance of these, it means that's a really healthy stream. It's going to be really good. If you find just like a mediocre amount, it could mean it's really good or not, just kind of depending on the species. And if you're not finding any salamanders, probably not a good stream. Probably pretty polluted, or you're just not in the right place for them, because they're not everywhere. Let's see. Yes. Let's see. Let me see if I have anything else about them. I don't think so. But we'll move on to our reptiles that we do have here. And we have bearded dragons. I'm going to see if I can move you around so you can get a better picture of them. I don't know. Can they see this? Okay. There we go.
You can see.
It's like, I don't know how close.
Yeah, all the animals get the close up.
Oh yeah, get the close up of our bearded dragon.
I hear geese out there honking up.
Oh, he's sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, like I said earlier, these guys are native to Australia and came over in the 80s in the pet trade. A lot of our animals that don't really survive out here in the wild come through the pet trade, like the Burmese python that we were talking about earlier. And they actually first came over from Australia to Germany, which is kind of interesting. They're called bearded dragons because, as you can tell, they don't have a beard. No beard. But they do have these scales down here and these spines down here that they can puff up when they get angry or if they're threatened. That kind of act as their protective beard here. And some of their favorite foods that we feed them here, we give them some kale, and they love fruit and they love peppers, all that kind of stuff. That is some of their favorite things to eat. And that's what we give them here with some calcium. They got to keep their bones strong. And bearded dragons are actually one of 2 lizards that can change color. Theirs is localized to their neck, to their chin area. When they puff it up, it gets black, and when they feel threatened. The other one is a chameleon. They can turn their whole bodies black or brown, or any color in between green and black. And it's actually based off their emotions. It's not necessarily camouflage. Same with bearded dragons. If they get stressed or if they get threatened, they will turn black, or his chin will turn black, or her chin. I don't know what you are. Let's see. Yeah. So another thing, if you have a bearded dragon and it's getting colder outside, you might be wondering why they're getting sluggish, why they're having a loss of appetite, and they're sleeping a lot. So they brumate during the winter to conserve energy, and sometimes they'll do that even if you have them. Oh, hello. You're running. You're running. Okay.
Got scared.
You're okay. You're okay. I know. You got a big goose. But they'll do that. They'll do that in the winter. So if you notice your bearded dragon doing that's why. That's normal. But I would check on them, just making sure that they're okay. Just have the option of food. This one actually, their tail has been, they've lost a tail, they've been through a lot, but they're still really chill, awesome pets. They're really fun, and you can just leave them here on your shoulder all day, and they love to hang out with you. They're really friendly. They like being with you. They're very curious, and they're actually really smart. Pretty smart guys, and they can run actually really fast. They can run up to 9 miles an hour. You would not think of it. Just look at them here. They're lazy little guys, but they can run when they want to. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, or anybody in here has any questions, I can try and answer them on anything.
So,
Awesome.
what I've been trying to get is, so we have a bunch of bearded dragons for adoption.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're up to like 6 a while ago. So what would you suggest to someone who's considering one for a pet?
Yeah, I would definitely, whenever you're getting any pet, I would always say to see if this kind of fits into your lifestyle. If you think you could really have a bearded dragon, they're really chill. They need a tank to keep them in. You gotta be able to provide their food for them and have fun activities, and if they can hang out with you. I know a guy, I know a friend who's got cats and dogs and a bearded dragon, so I know they can hang out with anybody, but I, again, wouldn't leave them unsupervised with anybody else. But I highly recommend bearded dragons as pets, especially if you like work from home. This would be a great pet to have, just to hang out with you all
They
day.
just chill on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And so I think talking a little bit about the diet and stuff, because that's probably, for me, I don't have time for pets, obviously. I got enough animals here, but you know, thinking about a reptile, for the most part, you have to be willing to go out and buy usually live insects and stuff, and so that's a deterrent for me as a pet. Although they're my favorite animals, they also require more work where that regard comes in, that you have to actually get them.
It's true.
And we're just getting ready to start breeding our own cockroaches, so we can use those here. And I think
Yeah, definitely a thing to consider if you don't like touching bugs.
yeah,
Reptiles might not be the pet for you. Or use tongs.
Yeah.
Or use tongs.
yeah. Well, plus you have, most of the time you have the bugs living in your house in another container.
Right.
So I can't tell you how many times as a kid my son let crickets or something out in the house. And you know, now we know so much more about nutrition and animals. We used to feed mealworms and stuff, and we realized that the chitin is really bad for a lot of reptiles and causes digestive issues sometimes and blockages. So it's not really recommended in a lot of animals, but you know, back 20 years ago, we didn't have this information and we didn't have the internet. And so you fed animals different things back then, but we used to do crickets, and my son opened a shipment of crickets, not realizing they don't put them in anything, they're just loose in the box. And we had 200 crickets in our house.
Goodness.
So, you know, I just left the door open and let them go outside, but we'd be watching TV and we'd hear the chirp, chirp, chirp. The crickets definitely, you gotta watch those. So that's something to consider too, that you have to have. What's that?
I said, Jim, you don't need for talking about it
Yeah.
today.
Well, I mean, part of why we do this too is to get to know people, and
Yeah.
I think people don't realize, you know, I think for me, social media is just, here's an analogy, because yesterday my boyfriend was over, and every time I let my dog out, if my neighbor's dog is out, they come up to the fence and they're like barking, you know. And he said, you know, the dogs remind me of social media, right? Because you have these two people who can't see each other, and they're at each other's throats, but they can't see each other. But if my neighbor's out front with her dog and I'm out front with my dog, they're all like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
Yeah.
You know. And it's like the same thing. He's like, "This reminds me of social media," and it is, because you can't see that other person, and so you say whatever it is you think. You know, you don't use the same filter, and then you'll see that person and you'll go, "Okay, I see that person as a real person." And so I think a lot of it too is for people to see the people behind the social media, and to also you know, get to know us a little bit, and so that was a lot of the reason why I want to do this, because they can see the real people that are here. And we talked earlier with the vet about how horrible sometimes this job is, and not horrible, but it's hard, you know, because you know, people were commenting like, "How do you not have PTSD?" I do have it. So I think you know, they don't understand the amount of trauma that we see and the cruelty that we see, and people's first jump on social media is to criticize or to complain, and they don't realize how hard people work here, and how much we actually get done. And so you know, I think it's good for people get to know us, and that's part of why I wanted all the staff to be up here, even the ones that are shy, a little uncomfortable. So
Somebody wanted you to mention heat and light for bearded dragons and UVB.
And how important UVB is.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely need a heat lamp for these guys, and not just a heat lamp. You need a UVB, or however you say that.
full
Did
spectrum.
I say that right?
Yeah.
One of those lamps. Because if you're keeping them inside, they need sunlight. They need heat because they're from Australia. And so having the correct ones is definitely important. You need to do some research on that, especially. Okay.
And there's a lot of UVB or
Yes.
just UV lamps that aren't good. You really need to research the different types of.
Yeah, you need to get the right one for your correct pet, because different reptiles take different things, and then some of them are just wrong in general. Like, you shouldn't use them at all, because they won't be able to have build their bones properly. They're not going to be able to be have the right nutrition, and some of them will get metabolic bone disease if they don't get the right UVB and
They
heat
just
lamp and
basically can't
everything.
absorb vitamins and nutrients without the UV, and it's the same with birds. Almost every animal, like we have outside time trials here, so they get to go outside and get actual sunlight is really the best for them if it's nice outside. So we do that. Even we have a little place for our little sulcata, which we have for adoption, outside. He gets to run around outside for a little bit every day. So it's really important.
Also, how low humidity is a factor because they're susceptible to upper respiratory infections. I don't know.
Yeah.
mention
Well, they're
anything about
desert
that.
animals, and so that's a thing too. We were just discussing that in the baby bird room, and that's almost all animals when they're being raised in an artificial environment. We don't think about that because they were saying, why is it that we get more of these different ailments in birds? And I said, because you look at a chimney swift, it's raised in a chimney, and that's dry, and it's basically charcoal, right? And then you take them inside, you put them in a room where there's a bunch of birds and a bunch of feeding, and it's warm in there and it's humid, and it's outside of their natural environment. So you take an animal out of the desert, you put it in your home. You have to look at those factors for every single pet, not just the bearded dragons. Some of them are more used to our climate, like a rabbit would probably be fine just living in your house. But if you're looking at reptiles, they have a lot of really special needs. But it's really the case with almost all animals, whether they need different humidity or different lighting or temperatures. So
Yeah, having a humidity and temperature gauge in your tank is very important so that you can maintain the proper humidity and temperature. Are you done? I think.
he said, I'm done. He's done. So I think next we have Forest. Forest. So, I don't know, have we checked our EUs today?
I did.
No, I was waiting on you.
No.
I didn't
they're
want
not-
to open it until.
Okay. I'm just curious.
I just peeked it. I didn't open it.
Yeah, well, they were starting to hatch yesterday, but it's like a 48-hour window, so I was thinking they might. I was
No, we
hoping
wanted to keep the
it'll probably be Monday.
incubator closed up and not open it until
Yeah.
you were around.
Yeah, we need to open it at least once a day, and
Do
now
you want
just
me to go check?
you just see what's going on. Because if they start struggling or they get if they get stuck or something, we have to monitor them.
Okay, I can go check.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yes,
Thank you.
That was awesome. Forrest is like, I'm gonna honk up the whole time.
What is it, buddy? You just want to walk.
I know Melissa's really anxious to get on the camera, right? So
Just like the rest of us.
who's after this?
Gillian.
Yeah, just get her. All right, you ready? All right, So it's me again. Yay. Oops. Let me make sure. Here. Let me scooch over and you can
want to
see.
do that one?
All right. There we go. All right, Forrest.
Woohoo.
So let's see if he's on the camera. There we go.
There's Forrest.
There's Forrest. So if you follow our page, or you may actually just follow Forrest's page. He has his own page where he talks about his adventures with his friends and the other geese. And I know I talked about earlier today about snakes and how much I like snakes, but I think my passion in life is definitely geese. And if you get me started about geese, I can talk for a long time about what's great about them. But one of my sayings a lot is that geese are what people should be and aren't for the most part. They just get a really bad rap, mainly because they're very abused in society. There's a lot of animals that really just get a bad rap because people don't get to know them, and geese are definitely one of them. One of the things that people usually mention here when they start volunteering is that they are very surprised that the geese aren't attacking people around here. Well, that's just a learned behavior in geese. They've learned that people are cruel. They've learned that people hurt them. So they're very cautious and defensive around people. But when they get here, sometimes they're a little hissy at first, but after a few weeks of being here, they learn that we care for them and love them, and if they're walking down the sidewalk, I step off the sidewalk and let them have the right of way, because this is their home. And honestly, this is the home. All the animals own this place and kind of run the place. To me, I feel like we're here to take care of them, and it's whatever they want and whatever they need. And to me, the geese are, they get here, and once they get relaxed, they become very loving, and they're just amazing animals. I've had experiences with geese that I don't think you will experience with other animals. I've attended a couple of funerals for geese, and I think the first time I saw a funeral, I didn't really understand what was going on, and eventually I was kind of off to the side the first time, and the widow of the goose that had passed, they were on a little island in the middle of a pond, and I can't remember what I was doing there. I feel like I was releasing some ducks or something, and I got up to the pond and I was watching from behind a tree, and the widow was grieving and calling other geese in, and all day long geese flew down and paid respects, and they normally they're pretty vocal, but when they come in to pay respects, they kind of just stand around. They're really quiet. And I think one story, I haven't told this story in a long time, because if people that know me know that I had Pringles, and Pringles was the springboard for a lot of things that's happened at the rescue. He definitely sparked my love for geese, and his first mate was Max, and Max and Pringles lived at our first location that we had, and they one day Max was sick, and of course we did everything we could. We didn't have that many animals. I think we had like 15 animals back then. We wildlife, but we didn't really have a place to keep everything long-term wise. And so Max actually had amyloidosis, and there's not really a cure for that in humans. They can do some really extreme surgical things and other, but in geese it was just kind of not something that we could really handle, and we treated it the best we could. I pulled in that morning. I used to run the opening shift and the closing shift. I did it every day with my kids. I would take my kids to school, and I would come in and open the rescue, and then go to work and work all day, and then I'd leave work and come in and close the rescue. And my daughter was very attached to the two geese. Obviously, they lived with us. I raised them in the house with my kids, and so when we pulled into the rescue, along the fence, there was a line of geese. They were all wild geese, and they lined the entire fence around the rescue. And I looked over at my daughter and I said, Max has died. So we knew she was dead because the geese were having a funeral before we even got into the building. And so when we got in, she was dead. And these were geese that flew in and out and interacted with our geese through the fence. And they stayed there for 3 days, and the rescue was just really super quiet. The geese would come in and out, and they would stand at the fence and pay respects. And Pringles was devastated. He followed us around crying, and he would pull on our pant leg and cry. And he was lonely, and he would wait for us by the door. And one of our geese, Clarence, Clarence had really been through a lot, and we called Clarence the goose rehabber because we would fix the wounds, and Clarence would fix the medical, or not the psychological issues. And I came in one day, and Pringles was just floating in the pool. He was very quiet, and he was grieving. And Clarence and him weren't really friends before that, but Clarence hopped in the pool and went right next to Pringles and just sat there and kind of said, hey, I'm your friend and I'm here. And after that, they always had a friendship after that. And Clarence went on to raise a lot of our babies. He was the mother goose. If geese had any kind of issues, we had one goose that came in that was very abused, and Clarence immediately took to that goose, and that was Dustin, and Dustin never left his side because Dustin saved his life, and he knew it, and he followed Clarence around till Clarence died. And Clarence raised babies every year. We don't know how old he was. He was older. He had been abandoned on a pond, and he was shot, and his mate was killed, and his wing was shot off. And he lived here for a long time, and he'd raise 50 or 60 babies at a time. And one day I came in, and I thought he didn't look great, and that was the day that we were actually rounding up some of the babies to release them. We used to release the babies, and he waited for us to take the babies away, and when he knew the babies were on their own after that, he just kind of collapsed. He didn't want us to know that he was sick because he knew that he needed to finish raising those babies. And of course, at the time we rushed him to Raleigh up to the vet and stayed with him in ICU. And basically, I think he died of old age. But just seeing how dedicated they are to each other and to other animals, and how much love they give to you and to each other. And there is no orphans in a society of geese. They don't have orphanages. Somebody takes. They actually fight each other over who gets to take the orphans. And I wish people would do that, where we didn't have. Every child has a home where there's geese. Right, Forrest? That wasn't really what I was going to talk about. I think we just kind of went down a dirt road. But, it goes back to the stories of, most people interact with these animals and don't really see what goes on with them and understand their social structure and how elaborate it is. And, they babysit each other's goslings, and sometimes they'll try to steal them just a little bit. But they just love taking care of babies. That's what they live for. If Forrest has a brother and the brother dies, the family takes over the mate and the goslings, and will continue to care for them. They get accepted into the family and become part of the group. And so I've had volunteers who have been gone for 5 and 6 years, and they can come back and the geese will recognize them. I had a volunteer who was gone about 6 years, and she came back, and I called the answer honk. I used to always call Pringles, and he would answer honk me, and that's how I knew he was okay. If I was too busy, because he eventually took another mate, Annabelle, who's still here, and she's slowing down and getting older, but we still have Mr. Seb and Annabelle, part of Pringles' original group. And I would be out working on the shift, and I would say, Pringles, honk honk, and he would always go honk 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 back. And so that's how we communicated. He knew I was here. I knew he was okay. And that was the day that I knew he was sick, because I called to him and he didn't answer honk. And so I went looking for him, and then I found him, and he wasn't feeling very well. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that road because I'll probably cry on the camera. But one of my friends who used to work here showed up, and she called to Pringles, and he just came running. He knew her and missed her after years, and so there's research showing that geese will remember up to 100 people for 10 years, and so that's pretty incredible, because at my age, I can't remember 100 people. I know people say, don't you know the name of every person that volunteers here? Well, we have 600 volunteers. If you include transporters and then you add in baby bird people, we can almost have 800 different volunteers that work here. It's a lot of people, and people will say, yeah, I was a volunteer there, or I met you, and over the years I can't even remember the amount of people that geese can. So maybe I'll come back as a goose and have a better memory. But getting back to Forrest, you want to get my shiny stuff, don't you? There you go. So Forrest is a buff dewlap Toulouse, and so buff is the breed, but it's also his color. A lot of geese are named after countries, which I'm not sure why they did that necessarily, but there's Canada geese, African geese, Chinese geese, Egyptian geese. Some of them are from the locations, maybe some aren't, like Toulouse is an area of France. I think that may be where the breed originated, or maybe that's where they became popular. And so Forrest buff geese are part. It's a color variation of the Toulouse, and so originally he comes from probably descendants of someone in France, and the dewlap is generally. That's a breed standard, so even though we kind of say he's a little fat, that's actually the way he's supposed to be. He's bred that way. They're highly desirable for show. He doesn't have as big of a dewlap as some of the others that we've had over the years, but he's a lot heavier than some of the other geese. And an interesting fact about geese is that all of our geese have descended from 2 different types of geese. We have what I call the smooth neck geese. Those are the Canada geese, but the swan goose is genetically the originator of the Chinese and the African geese, and the Chinese and the African are pretty much the same. Africans just have the dewlap, and the Chinese don't. All of the other geese, which are the ruffled neck geese, if you see right here the ruffles, these ruffled geese all descend from greylag stock. So if you have a ruffled goose, that's a descendant of greylag. And the greylags look just like the Toulouse. They're just a little smaller. They're the wild version. It's sort of like a Rouen versus a mallard. They look really similar, but they're flighted and more suited to be in the wild. But basically these guys have been selectively bred for colors, and that's where we get the Emdens, the Pilgrims, these buff geese have all basically come from the gray lag stock. Right? Do you have any questions for us about geese? What do you think? He said, I'd like to get back to the pool, please, because it's a nice day and I'm missing my pool time.
And his family.
Yeah, so Forrest has a family, and they definitely will bond for life, and his mate is Jenny, and Maverick, we're not really sure where Maverick's gonna fit into that, because Forrest and Jenny are already, they're trying to mate, but they're not successful yet. They have lacked some experience in getting things where they're supposed to go, but as part of the learning process and the fun of growing up is figuring that stuff out. And Maverick is a Canada goose that is part of their family, and eventually she'll probably want a mate of her own too, and we're waiting for someone to choose her or for her to choose someone, and that happens a lot here. We put them out in like an X pen or a pen outside, and a goose will come up and start talking to them. This is also how we offer foster goslings up. We'll put them outside. You can tell who wants the babies the most because they'll become very dedicated. They'll sit outside the pen. They'll chase other geese away, and then you know those are the ones that want to be the parents, and you put them in with the babies. And then once the babies accept the goose as the parent, then they can come out and raise the babies. And so that's basically what will happen with this mate situation with Maverick. He'll, you know, someone will come up to the gate and show interest, and you know, the other two geese might not like it at first and they may chase him away, but if he's persistent, if he really wants to be with her, he'll be persistent. And eventually we'll either try to integrate that goose in with them, or we'll let Maverick come out and integrate into the family. For the most part, the male family is usually where the geese go. So traditionally, she would go with the male's family and become part of that flock. Because a lot of geese try to stay together, their families try to stay together for life. It's not just the mates, but when their children take mates, they integrate into one of the families for the most part. I'm not sure how they always decide. I've actually seen it go both ways, where the female goes to the males or the male comes to the female. It could be that one of them doesn't have family. Or that a location is more ideal for one or the other. They tend to kind of stay in one area. And like I said, I can talk about geese for hours, and I don't know how long I've been talking, so. Does anybody have?
He's been watching you the whole time.
You've been watching.
I was listening to Mama.
Yes, you were listening.
Yeah, we don't have any questions about Forrest, so
Yeah.
if you're
Well, Forrest will answer questions on his page. If you have a question for him, you can go to his
You ready to
page
go back to
and
your
ask
family?
him a question. And he's drooling a little bit. And that's normal. They're pretty hardy birds. They don't stress a whole lot, but you know, they don't die from stress, I should say. But you know, he was raised in the house for the most part, so he's kind of used to being inside. Now that they have their own pen outside, they kind of just prefer. I strongly feel like animals need to be outside in their natural habitat as opposed to living inside, because these guys thrive outside. They prefer it. They need the sunlight, like we talked about earlier, the UV light. These animals have to have. They have a gland on the base of their tail that produces oil, and so that really doesn't function properly if they don't get the UV light that they need. And so I'll see people with ducks in the house and they really don't look healthy. Their feathers don't look good because they can't properly preen and waterproof themselves without the sunlight. And so having that super critical for them. You know, the fresh air and the sunshine. So once you kind of get them out there and you give them the choice, they're not going to choose being inside for the most part. They like being outside. Right, Forrest?
I think Forrest Forrest is ready.
I think he's
Forrest
getting
is ready.
I think he's done. He said you can talk about geese forever, but I don't want to listen, right?
I want to go back to my family and
Okay.
swim.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Forrest, for coming and joining us.
Yes.
Say bye.
Bye. All right. So next up we have Gillian. Gillian here. And what do you have there?
I have pigeons.
Oh, she's going to talk about pigeons. Awesome. Another really misunderstood animal that
Yes.
gets a bad rap. So, we should have set this up in the beginning, but I decided to do it now because people who come in later don't necessarily know who everyone is, because I do introduce people, but after you come in a little bit late in the broadcast, and you're going to see, you won't know who it is that's here. Oh wow, you picked out some fancy ones.
Those are my
hers.
pigeons from home.
Oh,
I thought they might be a little more hand-tamed than
yeah.
this little one.
Well, there you go now. There you go. So, just, you can sit in one of the chairs or stand back here.
Yeah, no problem. Just to keep them occupied.
Yeah. Do you want me to stand over here too? Just kind of. You can see right here where you're. Like if you watch here, you can see where you're at on the.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to see about your placement. It's just a delay. There you go. You're good.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit first about you and what you do here, and you know, a little bit about what you do around the rescue.
So yeah, I am a resident animal care coordinator and shift leader, so I make sure that all the animals are taken care of and have food and water, maintenance around the rescue, things like that.
All right, so tell us a little bit about, so I don't want to interrupt you because I know you got a thing going there, but I'm just curious how long you've had pigeons and what got you interested in pigeons and other birds?
I haven't had them very long. I've only had them a few months, but
You don't have
have-
to worry about that. Yeah, I know.
I've always wanted some sort of bird. And they're very calm and quite easy to take care of, and they're very sweet.
Hi. Hi. So what kinds of pigeons are these, do you know?
So she is a Old Dutch Capuchin. She's got the very fancy neck feathers. And then this guy is, I believe, an Indian fantail.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently found out they're male and female.
Oh, yeah, they're doing some stuff right now.
Yep, they've been pretty busy all morning doing stuff on the volunteer
They got stuff to do.
Uh-huh.
It's that time of year.
Mm-hmm. Pigeons, it's kind of hard to tell if they're male or female until they lay an egg, or sometimes you can tell with the males because they will do things.
Well, then the mating behaviors you can tell because the females don't blow up and do the bowing and the serenading thing they do. So I could demonstrate that, but I'd sound really weird. But they blow up really big in their neck and
He's
they
been doing it all morning.
woo,
He was like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He's been doing it all morning.
And that's basically most males do put on the show for the females because girls are cool. Will you get into your talk? I'll let you get into your talk.
I'm sorry.
I see you.
Just a second.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so yes, these are my pigeons. They're a male and female pair. Pigeons like to have other pigeons around. I have this for, oh, wait. So pigeons are very intelligent. A lot of people don't give them credit for that. They're usually seen as nasty or unclean animals, but they don't really carry any diseases. So the males do this little dance for the female where they do little circles and they puff up their head and I am not good at speeches. So yeah, they're very easy to care for as long as they have plenty of space to walk around. They don't fly, well, they do fly some, but mine tend to like walking around on the ground more. Oh, I know, I'm so cute. Yeah.
Just a pigeon cam.
Yeah, just pigeons.
Are you having trouble with your prompter?
No, I'm just camera shy.
Oh, okay. Would it help? You want me to help you?
If you want.
It's okay. So I know I've said this a couple times. We kind of wanted everybody on our supporters to get to meet people and see the people that are here. Some of us are a little more camera shy than others, but I feel like it's been really nice because everybody's made the effort to come on and do their talk. So I'll ask her some questions about pigeons, and she's just talking to me, and I'll answer them. So, how do you keep these pigeons at your house? What kind of caging would you recommend for someone that might be looking at a pet pigeon?
So they can be kept in either a large fly cage, or some people keep them in just large dog crates, as long as there's enough room for them to walk around in. But if you're going to keep them in something like that, I would recommend letting them free fly in your house for a little bit so they can get exercise, because you don't want to keep them in a cage all day.
So, do you have any pigeon diapers?
I do. I have them with me actually, but I probably should have put them on them. 'Cause
People don't realize they have actual pigeon diapers. So, if you're letting them run around in your house, they can actually have a diaper on.
Yeah, so that's what I do at home. Usually I will put their diapers on and put the cats in a room by themselves so they don't interfere, and then just kind of let them free roam my house.
So what they're doing here, if you're watching, is so pigeons actually pre-digest their food in their crop. There's very few animals with a true crop, and so a true crop means that it's actually pre-digestion as opposed to just a storage for food. Like ducks don't have a crop; they have a wide esophagus, and the food will build up and store in there, but it doesn't really start the digestion process. Well, pigeons do start the digestive process, and when they have babies, they have crop milk. So the other thing is, I have a cartoon that I use in my presentations that has a picture of a pigeon on a therapist couch, and he said, "When I was a baby, my mom used to throw up in my mouth." But it's kind of a joke, but it is actually what they do, and it's not uncommon for other birds like parrots. When we just got a parrot in, he regurgitated some food to feed me. That is a sign of affection in a lot of birds, and so he's basically trying to regurgitate some food for her, and she puts her mouth in his and takes it from him as to reciprocate the affection. So that's basically what's going on here. So that's a precursor to some hanky-panky that may or may not happen on the camera. But basically, so what kind of food do your pigeons eat?
So I just feed them pigeon seed. It's a mixture of lots of.
You can show it.
Yeah.
So a lot of pigeons, they are seed eaters, but we buy like a special pigeon formulated blend for food, and some of the pigeon food comes with corn and other things. Our pigeons don't like it. They just pick through it, and don't eat it, so we don't always get it. Some people's pigeons like it, other ones don't. How much time do you spend per day, like as far as their care for cleaning cages and feeding and whatever you do? What do you think the time commitment is daily for birds like this?
Probably less than 20 minutes, honestly. It takes like 5 minutes for me to wipe out their little area, and then I just top off their food and make sure their water's clean. And they're quite low maintenance.
Yeah, and they make some really nice noises. And we have some doves in the volunteer room right now that laugh. You may hear them laughing. We should have put them in here and let them laugh during the broadcast. That would have been kind of funny.
Yeah, true.
But I think pigeons, again, get a really bad rap. And there's also, I have a couple of books at home, but I collect books. And I have some books on pigeons, and there's some famous pigeons that have actually received the Medal of Honor in the military for saving lives. And they used to use homing pigeons in the military to relay messages. And so I think it was World War I. I might be wrong. It might be World War II.
I did do a little bit of research.
Yeah. I think it's World War I. They used a pigeon, and Mon Cherie, and that pigeon got hit by fire a couple of times, and through all of it, managed to get the message to the right place, and it saved the troops' lives, and that's what the pigeon received the award for, because she was disabled after that, but she literally dragged her bleeding, bloody, severed leg body back to the troops, and let them know that that the enemy was coming. And so she got retired, and she got a lot of awards, and they had books written about her and everything. And so pigeons are incredibly intelligent. And where are you going?
I was worried she would do that.
So not all pigeons are homing pigeons. So talk about different pigeons, and
There she is.
I think people by default think that pigeons are all homing pigeons, and they're not.
So there are lots of different breeds of pigeons.
You know how many?
I don't know.
I feel like it's
I know there's a lot.
thousands.
There's so many.
So I bought a book on pigeon breeds, because I thought I'm going to brush up on I'm going to learn all these pigeon breeds and be an expert on pigeon breeds. And I got
There's
the
so
book,
many, though.
and there was like 5,000 breeds of pigeons, and I was like, oh, I'm too old. My memory's not that good.
That's what you know.
So there's a lot of different pigeons that perform different functions, and they don't all home. So and what do you think some of the reasons are why we get pigeons in the rescue?
A lot of times they will get lost when they're trying to find their way home. They will not find their way home. A lot of people race them, which is where they put a lot of pigeons in a truck and drive far away and let them go and see who can find their way home the fastest. But unfortunately, a lot of the pigeons do not end up finding their way home, and a lot of them get hit by a car or eaten by predators because they are not adapted to living.
Also, releases at weddings and funerals is a big one.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's also so a lot of people used to do doves at weddings, and we actually had a bride bring us 2 pigeons they let go at the wedding, and they just went to the ground and stood there, and they a lot of times starve to death, or they just get eaten by a predator. And she really regretted doing the bird release. She didn't realize how inhumane it was for the birds to actually have just to be set free. And they're actually really smart birds. I think I'm trying to think. I'm not aware of other birds that do the homing instinct like they do.
Not that I know of.
I also read a study where apparently they can identify people, not just like in real life, but in photographs too.
Yes, they also differentiate letters of the alphabet, and
Yeah.
I've heard that they can recognize themselves in the mirror.
Oh
which
yeah,
is
the mirror
very-
test.
There's very few animals that
Yeah, that's a really that's a big factor when they test for intelligence of animals is self-awareness, and very few animals really have that. But that's pretty cool.
They're
That's pretty
beautiful.
cool. And they make very enjoyable noises. They're very easy to keep as pets. We do have about 200 pigeons here that need homes. Actually, we counted them. I think we had 135. It just seems like 200. It feels like 200, but actually I think it was like 135. They're some of the most beautiful birds that we have here, I think, and they're very overlooked and underrated as pets. But you know, if you want a nice quiet pet, they actually are really nice pets. So let me see what's next on our schedule.
Oh, Gillian, do you still have that Muscovy family?
I do.
Okay. Can you?
So yeah, I have a family of 7 Muscovies that I'm fostering that are up for adoption. So they came in as a mother and her 6 babies. I think they came in.
And her leg was really
and her
injured.
leg was very hurt, but she got medical care here, and they gave her a splint, and her leg healed pretty much entirely. She doesn't really have a limp anymore.
Yeah, she looks really good.
Yeah.
And you've been fostering them for several months already.
Yep.
So, if anyone is interested in adopting the family together, they should reach out to adopt@cwrescue.org.
Yep. So it's a mom and her 6 babies, 2 boys and 4 girls.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a little snafu in the schedule, so we're waiting for someone else to come up, and in the meantime, we can just watch pigeons.
Yeah. I mean, this works.
Yeah.
Oh, come on the camera.
Yeah,
Let me
you
see you and your beautiful
Show it
self.
closer if you want to stand up.
Do you want to go?
The other thing I wanted to point out is one of my favorite organizations is Palomacy Pigeon Rescue. I believe it's pigeon.org. Possibly. They actually have it's a fantastic group of people. They have some Facebook groups for pigeon care, pigeon adoption, rehoming. They're all over the country. They refer people to us when they get someone in our area who needs a home or wants to take in some pigeons for adoption. I think it's pigeon.org. Let's see. No, that's not it. Hang on. I'm going to look it up real quick because if you're interested, this is a really great place to get information. It's pigeonrescue.org. Pigeonrescue.org. If you're curious about any kind of care, housing, information, get on their Facebook groups that they have. They have some wonderful information about pigeon care. We refer people to them all the time that are interested in adopting on how to get the housing and care information. And again, I think they, like I said, they really have a lot of. So this guy actually, while we're talking about the birds, he has a little bit of angel wing, and I think we actually had a goose we were going to bring out with angel wing, and I don't know what happened to him. We kind of ran out of time earlier, and then now we have extra time. But the angel wing is something that happens when birds are fed the inappropriate diet when they are developing feathers, and the reason for that is because if they're fed too high of protein, or there's often another imbalance in the diet. I know that a lot of the literature says it's a protein excess, but in my experience in all the years of raising birds is that we can control the protein, and they may still develop it. So there is some genetics involved too, but I've seen it also with different imbalances in the diet, not just the protein. But you know, the feathers start coming in on the wing too fast because they're getting too much nutrition, and the bones have not gotten soft yet. So just like babies, I just had my first grandbaby. The bones on her head are really soft. These guys are in an egg. All their bones are soft. So when the weight of the feathers, each feather gets a blood shaft. It's called a blood feather. It has a direct blood supply to the feather so that it can grow in. And if the weight of that blood fills in before the bone has started to harden, it will start to pull the bone out of alignment. It will deform the bones in the wing. When you see that happening in your birds, you have to correct it right away. And basically you just have to support the weight of the feather and put it in the correct position until the bone has hardened, which is usually only a week or two. And she's even got pigeon earrings on, which I have the same pigeon earrings. I don't actually wear them a lot because my ears are really sensitive, and every time I wear earrings it hurts. But so basically, back to the angel wing, you just have to support the weight until once the bone hardens in the incorrect position, there's no way to fix it because it causes a joint rotation, and you're stuck with that. This is a bird that could fly if he may still be able to fly. It depends on how severe it is.
He only somewhat flies. He can fly a few feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And then he just goes back.
In a domestic, say like a Pekin duck or a goose that can't fly, it's really a cosmetic issue. If it's a wild duck or a wild goose, then in that case, it will impede their ability to fly and be releasable. So it's something that you have to catch right away, and make sure there's a ton of information online on how to do those wraps, and how to. I've seen a lot of different methods of trying to control the angel wing. There's quite a few things that work really well, and I think we're ready for our next guest. So they're getting big. But thank you, Gillian, for bringing in her pigeons and talking about pigeons as pets.
Come on. I know. I'm not taking your girl away from you. You're coming with her. Step up.
Thank you, guys. What are their names?
We don't have names yet. I recently found out that she's a girl and he's a boy.
So now you get to pick names. Hey, if you have some suggestions, send them in the chat.
Yes, I am
And
open to suggestions.
she'll see what do you guys think?
So this one's a girl,
That's the girl, the white one,
and then the fantail is a boy.
yeah, we can tell by you prancing around all fancy.
Yeah, I know. I'm not taking her away.
All right, I'm gonna just pull this out.
Yeah,
Come on, bud. All right, thank you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, bring this guy. Which one is this?
This is not a collar. This is
Arrows?
Arrows.
Arrows.
EROS. After
Yes.
the god of
Do
love.
you just you mind holding it? You guys can hold him. So this is one of the baby goats. We're gonna see
You
if
just want to check anything out. Don't jump. Don't jump.
we had someone coming in to talk about goats. They couldn't make it, so we thought instead we'd just show you the goats. We just had our first goat yoga. We had a blast. The goats loved it too. They got a lot of attention. They're getting a little big, but we had the geese and the chickens and the other animals sticking their heads under the door trying to come in too. So we're thinking about doing another yoga, but this time with some other animals. Obviously, they all loved it, and the ones who didn't participate wanted to. So we actually have a mom and 3 babies. They're pretty much weaned now, so we're
One
gonna be.
female and 2 males.
We have two.
The oldest.
We have 2 adult males. We have a female with the 3 babies. The babies are 2 males and a female, and they're pretty much ready for homes now. So we have another goat yoga coming up April 8th. I believe it's April 8th. So check the website if you're interested. It's a lot of fun. The goats love it. The people love it. We had a really great time last time. But yeah, we'll have these goats ready for adoption here pretty soon. And if you're interested, just email Naomi, who you met earlier. She processes adoption applications, and that email address is adopt@cwrescue.org, and the application and information is also on our website. So if you're interested in goats, just hit us up. We have quite a few. We have Edward. He's a really sweet Nigerian dwarf goat. He just recently got fixed, and so he had a little bit of complications from his surgery, and he's all on the mend now and should be available for adoption really soon. He is really sweet and cute, and I think the mom and babies, there's the mom and dad came in together with the 3 babies. They were seized in a case, and I think the person was murdered, and the animals were left behind, and the mom and there was only 2 goats. Well, when they got to the shelter, I don't think they knew she was pregnant. We went to pick up the 2 goats, and then there was 5 goats, which happens a lot around here. Animals are pregnant when they come in. We don't always realize it. So it's actually been more work than we were ready to take on, because we've also had issues with some of them not, with 3 goats, it was hard for them to all get nursing time, and so we had to do a rotation. We took volunteers to come in and play with the goats, and we rotate them in with the mom, so everybody got, we had to weigh them every day to make sure everybody was getting enough to eat, and they're on solid foods now. So
He sees himself.
yeah, he's looking in the camera.
Really good. Yeah.
They're they get a lot of love and attention here, so they will make great pets for somebody who wants a nice baby goat. Hi. But our goat expert isn't here today, so like I said, we had someone that was going to talk about the goats and what we need to take care of them, and yeah, and I think that's pretty much it.
Melissa was coming up with some baby chicks.
Yeah, we just got one more animal that we're gonna bring in, and then I think because we had a few cancellations today, we're gonna go ahead and stop the broadcast a little earlier than we planned. We were gonna try to go till 6, but because 2 of our presenters couldn't come, we're gonna have to cut it a little short, unless you just want to hear me talk, and I doubt anyone wants that. You've heard me talk too much today. Here's what I'm gonna do. Where'd my pen go? There it is.
Let's see. I'll see if there's any questions.
Yeah, so if you have any questions for us, Stephanie's gonna check right now and see if there's anybody that has questions, and we'll answer your questions.
The goats get fresh produce also, and mineral salt, and lots of open space and vegetation to eat.
Alright, no questions so far.
Alright, here we go. If you're interested in goats, here's where to go. If you can read my writing, adopt@cwrescue.org, or just go to cwrescue.org website. And that's where you can find information on our adoptions. I feel like I'm not holding that straight. So we have the auction running till Monday. I know we talked about quite a bit about some of the items that we have on the auction. That closes at noon on Monday. So after the auction closes, if you need your items to be shipped, just wait for us to total up your items, and we'll add your shipping costs. If you want to pick things up at the rescue, it's free for pickup, but we add the actual cost of shipping at the end of the auction if you need items shipped, but we'll try to pack everything in one container so that it saves you on the shipping cost. And what we're trying to do right now is raise money to get a radiograph machine here. Right now we have to travel, it's about an hour round trip to go get radiographs. So if an animal gets hit by a car, someone has to stop what they're doing and drive an hour, and it has really taken a toll on the staff time. We're hiring right now too, so we're a little short-handed on staff. We're always, I feel like we're always running lean, but we're actually, since COVID's been around, it's been hard to find help, and
Our intakes are up as well.
our intakes are up a lot higher. I think a lot of people are calling them the COVID babies because people adopted a lot of animals during COVID, and now that they're back to work and not at home, they don't want the animals, so we're getting animals dumped in record numbers right now. And I think, in the years past, we were actually getting more adoptions when people were home, and then people were, volunteering too when they didn't have to work. And so it's been an interesting few years with COVID, because I've been doing this for 25 years and I really haven't had any experience like we've had the last few years. We ran out of animals during the first parts of COVID for adoption because the bird flu also stopped the sale of birds. And of course now everybody wants to give up their birds and rabbits and everything else. And so the employment market has been really difficult too for us as a nonprofit, because we don't really have a budget for, for the staff like other companies do. And it makes it harder for us to hire. So, but the benefits of working here are you won't get rich, but you will.
You get lots of pets.
You'll get to work with the animals, and it's very fulfilling. I know we talked some about how difficult the job can be at times, but it's obviously extremely rewarding as well.
Yep.
Being around the animals and different. Getting to rehabilitate and release an animal, like Sonia talking about the chicken who was missing half its body, but we were able to save it, and it was only a few weeks, and the chicken was healed and ready to go to a new home. And those are the kind of victories that we really kind of feed off of here, focusing on the good that we get to do in the community and to help these animals. So if you know someone who's even just looking for summer work, we have a few summer jobs. We have jobs in the rehabilitation department. We have a receptionist position up front for the weekends open. So we have all that on the website.
cwrescue.org/jobs.
Yep. And we have some other animals. You
This
guys,
is a great opportunity for people who can't have a farm but want to be able to come and spend time
Yeah.
with the animals, just
That's-
be able to get the farm experience.
that's basically the whole reason I started the rescue, because I wanted these animals and I couldn't have them at home, and I started keeping them here. And now we, it's hard to say no to animals in need when they need a place to go. But we're, we've been remodeling the entire rescue from head to toe. We have some donor days coming up. If you're a donor, you should receive an invitation. We'll have an open house where you can come and see all the work that we've done. I think we've done more upgrades and stuff in the last year than we have in a while. Things are really different here, even from just a couple years ago. We're working really hard on getting everything upgraded. I know some of you guys that have been following us a while. We bought a property in Marshville right before COVID with the plans to move, and we stopped maintaining some stuff here and started planning to rebuild, and we had to sell the property due to COVID. So now that we're going to be in this location a while, we've focused on upgrading and remodeling some things here, and I feel like we've really done a lot in the last year. We have a phenomenal group of people here that really puts in above and beyond effort for the animals. So, all right, we'll say goodbye to Aries.
Go back to mom. You ready? Let's go back to mom.
He's like, no, I don't want to go.
Come on, baby. Alright.
All right, so who we got here? You can just bring him around the front.
Some baby chickens.
So this is just some animals that we have for adoption right now, if you're interested. This is an older baby duck that we have. It's a Muscovy. And then we have a ton of baby chicks right now. We had
Is that Harlan?
we had a mom with babies come in. Actually, it was 3 moms with babies come in, and they were abandoned and trying to survive in the wild, which wasn't going very well. We need a towel down right there.
Yeah.
We have a lot of these baby chicks. If you're interested in
Growing
adopting,
fast,
they're growing really fast. But I mean, look at this. Let me see one.
Look how cute he is.
Your arm.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, slipping.
Look at him. He wants to see that.
Oh.
His head's just going.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think he sees his reflection in the mirror. Let's see. He likes this one the best. I don't know which one it is, but look at him. Like,
Is that
what is it?
Facebook? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is no
Look, I could like move his body.
Get him in
And
front of this one a little.
he wants
He's
that
big.
one. Look,
He sees his reflection.
look.
Oh.
So his head's literally.
Yep.
It's like that commercial. Have you ever seen that commercial where they do the chickens and they see their heads don't move? Look.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are you shaking for? Aw, look at this face.
Look how beautiful their feathers are, though. They're just beautiful. Let me see. Trade you.
See, you do the same
This
thing.
Muscovy is going to have the brown color, the chocolate, like bruiser. It's going to be a beautiful duck. That's going to be a beautiful duck.
You are so pretty. You're handsome.
Hi. Say, come give me a home. I'm beautiful.
I think so. Oh, or is it a girl?
I'm beautiful.
I think they found out she's a girl.
Oh, it's a girl.
His name was Arwen, and
Well, Arwen is a girl name.
oh, okay. There you go.
Arwen and Lord
Yeah,
Rings
she's
is a
got
girl.
that's little feet. That's a girl.
Arwen.
I can't really tell if he's in the camera or not. But
Yeah, you can move a little bit to your left. A little bit more. Yeah, that's good.
So
It's
cute.
kind of hard to
Show off
see.
Miss Arwen.
Yeah, you can just cut it in front of the camera.
It's okay, baby.
Aww.
How old's Arwen?
She's been here like 4 weeks now.
I was thinking she was pretty young.
3.5. And she's she was the first baby we got in. She's probably a little spoiled to people. She'll be a really sweet pet for someone that wants a girl dog. Everybody here really loves her.
Yeah.
She's pretty spoiled. So I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us today and getting to see some of the animals and meeting some of our staff. I know some of us are a little shy, but we got through it.
Yeah.
We got through it. We didn't get everybody up here, but we did pretty good, I think, for our first time. So if you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. We might do it again if everybody seemed to enjoy it. And we hope you guys have a great weekend. And thank you for coming.
All right.